Hello everyone, Mr. Nacho here, and today I wanted to share with you 3 different ways to build the plasma cutter and show you that HUGS builds and crit builds are still very powerful. The build looks like this. It's a regular HUGS build. We'll be using the Hunter's Focus since it was buffed recently and it's very good right now. The secondary is Gunslinger with the Bullet Storm ability, which is very good as well. Whenever it comes to the armor, we are using the Radiant Visage, Radiant Protector, Realm Walker Pantaloons and Survivor Gloves. It's again just for the fashion, I would say. When it comes to the relic, we are using the Profane Heart with range crit chance, crit damage and fire rate. Fire rate is extremely important because it helps us ramp up our weapon and its damage very quickly. The Profane Heart is very good in this situation simply because the Plasma Cutter is doing quite a bit of base damage and it's doing it extremely often. So higher fire rate is actually our ally here and it will heal us a lot whenever we get hit. The mutator that we chose for the Plasma Cutter is 1000 cuts, which increases this weapon's critical chance and critical damage by 0.5% for each shot fired and lasts 0.125 seconds, so an eighth of a second, and it has a maximum of 50 stacks. So at the moment it can increase our crit chance and crit damage by 25% both. It is better than the momentum because momentum can only increase our crit chance and crit damage by 20%. It's a little bit easier to stack up and keep at maximum stacks, but it's lower DPS overall. When it comes to the melee, we are using the Hero's Sword with Tainted Blade. It's just a way to apply Corroded. When it comes to the secondary, we are using Nebula with Feedback. Again, just a way to apply Corroded and deal more damage. It also helps us to deal with the groups of enemies because Plasma Cutter is solely focused on single target damage. And now there are a lot of choices when it comes to the jewelry. We have 3 different setups. One will be the comfy one, and we will be utilizing the new amulet, which is called the Zero Divide. It gives us infinite reserve ammo and increased range damage by 15%. The Plasma Cutter got a nerf where they reduced the max ammo quite a bit. Right now it can hold 100 in a magazine and 300 in a bank, so we have 400 bullets total. With the very fast fire rate, we will actually eat through that extremely quickly. So the Zero Divide amulet just lets us play a little bit comfortably. We could of course just resort to using the ammo boxes, but this is a comfy setup, so we don't really have to. Next we have Micro Compressor, which reduces hit generation per round when firing weapons that overheat by 30% and increases heat decay rate by 30%. It just makes it so that we can fire our Plasma Cutter much longer and we don't really have to wait as long for the heat to decay whenever we stop firing. Then we have the Xania's Malice. Even though it was nerfed, it's still very powerful because we can stack it in no time at all. Whenever we actually just aim and shoot at the weak spot, it will almost already be max stacks, and it's extremely easy to keep it at max stacks, so it will just be doing a lot of damage for us. Then we have the Stone of Expanse. Since we are only doing ranged damage, basically excluding the Nebula, but we only use it for the corroded status, not for the acid damage that it does, so we don't really care. And then we have the Probability Core to increase our crit damage by 20%. All in all, we have 30% crit chance from our weapon and 1000 cuts whenever it's fully stacked up. We have 5% per archetype, so that's 40%. We have 7.5% from range crit chance, so that's 47.5% crit chance for this build. I feel like this is enough, but if you feel that it's not, then you can obviously just go for the Akari Warband. You could also go for the Braided Thorns, or you could use one of the other setups that I have, which is the one with the Nightweaver's Grudge and the Atonement Fold. Right now our crit chance just bumped up by 20%, so that's very nice. We'll be using the same traits for every single setup. With this one, if you really want to counteract the drain for your health with the bleed, then you could just invest in kinship or you could invest in regrowth, but this is all not really very necessary since whenever we just start firing we will be healed back to full in no time. The third setup that we have is very similar. The only thing that changes is that we are going for the Gunslinger's Charm because fire rate will bump our damage quite a bit, and so will the reload speed, because they are both multiplicative and they will increase our damage a lot. When it comes to the traits, we have Swiftness because it's very good right now. We have Fortify because it's necessary on Apocalypse. We have Gifted so that we can increase our skill duration by 30%. We don't really care about the Hunter's Focus, but we do care about the Bullet Storm. So right now the Bullet Storm will last 26 seconds which is very, very good. Then we have Vigor to have more HP so that we can heal it back whenever we get hit. We have Spirit to increase our mod power generation. We have Siphoner to get even more lifesteal. Leech to get even more lifesteal. Then we have Chakra to increase our mod duration. And again, the mod duration for the hit sync will be 26 seconds. So this will be exactly just as long as the Bullet Storm, so that's very good for us. It will also prolong the duration of the Nebula to 19.5 seconds, which is very, very good. And then we have 8 points into expertise to reduce our skill cooldowns. But honestly, we will be nearly done with any boss by the time that our abilities expire, so this is not really very necessary. And the last 2 points are already used for us and they were allocated to endurance. Alright, so let's compare the DPS of all of the builds. We'll start first with the Zero Divide setup, which is just a comfy setup, you never run out of ammo. As you can see, we were about 6200 DPS whenever our Bullet Storm and mod finished, so this is a very good result. 6200 DPS is extremely high for a HUGS weapon, especially now, so that I actually think that this is a great success. Even though it's a comfy build, it's doing way more damage than almost any other HUGS build anyway, so this is not a wrong way to play it. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that for whatever reason, the normal shots of the plasma cutter are actually working correctly, so this is just a laser. But whenever we activate our mod, it's like stuttering. As you can see, it's very, very weird. I don't know why it is this way, but I hope that it will get fixed, because it's extremely loud for whatever reason. Alright, let's test the next setup that we have. This will be the one with the Gunslinger's Charm. So you have to remember, the first one was about 6200 DPS. Alright, so it's 6200 versus 7500, so this is a bump of 1300 damage just by changing our amulet to the Gunslinger's Charm. So as you can see, the fire rate and the reload speed are greatly increasing our DPS, but this way we will use our max ammo extremely quickly, so we'll actually need to use the ammo boxes quite often. If you want to, you can actually just invest into Glutton, so you can use them much quicker, and then just take points out of Swiftness and put them into Glutton, so that you will be able to use the ammo boxes much quicker. And let's see the last setup that we have, which is the OG. This is the Nightweaver's Grudge with the Atonement Fold. It has the highest crit chance of all of them. As I've said, the traits and everything else stays the same. The only difference here is the ring and an amulet. We all have 1000 cuts and the same abilities, so let's see how this one does. Alright, this one was doing about 6700 DPS. This is very reasonable. It's not as powerful as the increase to fire rate, mind you, even though we have way more crit chance at this setup. It's still very, very powerful. You can use it without any problems, really. It's still great. The one that I like the most is the Zero Divide one, so this is the one that I'll be tackling the bosses with. So if you choose any of the other ones, you will be doing even more damage than I am in those boss fights. It's just a comfy way for me to play, and I highly enjoy it. So let's go for the first boss. This is the Taldrafa. He does not have hearty or thick skin, so the damage will be as high as it can be. If I remember correctly, it's the Spiteful Skullcracker, so let's see how we can do against him. Alright, so let's see how this build does against our good old friend Taldrafa. Let's pop a relic. Let's activate Nebu. Nebula. Alright, and let's go. As you can see, we were easily able to stagger him. Try to deal with the flying balls as well. Plasma cutter is very good at it. If we didn't have to reload, I'm pretty sure we would be able to stagger him there again. But we can't win them all, and he's already dead. And this is again on the comfy setup with the Zero Divide Amulet. Let's go for the next boss. Right, so that would be all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, a like and sub would go a very long way. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a great day.